welcome to the first attempt at a full battle report. So here you can see the lists are scrolling by. I probably will slow these down a bit. I need to dress up the scenario look a little bit. So right away we're jumping into deployment. The Malikov list is pretty straightforward, or maybe not. It hinges on trying to bring units that that Malikov can abuse with his battle plans, and then bringing models that that work for him to take advantage of things like sack pawn and his feat. Mostly, Malikov is an extremely survivable warcaster, even though he's only 15-15 with 15 boxes. He just likes the number 15. I have Man-O-War Shock Troopers in there to take the sack pawn hits for him, along with some mechanics in there in case the Shock Troopers aren't really taking a lot of damage. The mechanics are usually running right behind the armored shell. The Jack setup with him, I've just been I'm trying out the more efficient heavies. So we're bringing 3 Juggernauts and the 1 Devastator. The Devastator's in there to give Malikov immunity to blast damage. I think that Malikov is the when it comes to ranged attacks, if he gets hit with blast damage, he's like many warcasters in that follow that same low armor stat. He'll just whiff it to blast damage. Now Mark's list is just Kalissa and stuff. I don't really know much about Rhett to comment on how his list is built or how it's supposed to function, but you can see here Malikov has put out a few spells and just charged forward. Mostly he's putting up escorts so that the Jacks can run 10 inches, and then he puts out tactical supremacy on the Shock Troopers, who I then shield wall and then move a complete 9 inches. So with the Man-O-War Covenant giving them desperate pace and having tactical supremacy, they end up shield walling 9 inches, which is pretty intense. I think when they run, they get 9 inches, or they get 10 inches. So I'm losing out on 1 inch, but I am getting the shield wall bonus. And typically when I've played against Red, I'm used to a lot of shooting. However, this list is a little bit light on the shooting. It's more got the melee business. The Grey Lord Outriders are just kind of shooting up the flank, and the 1 unit of Eliminators are kind of following behind them. Mostly I'm just trying to present a ton of force with the army so that I can have a good feat turn and then end up delivering Malikov's army to my opponent. Here we can just see Mark is just running up most of his stuff. There's no real business that he's got on his first turn. He's got the unit of Halberdiers deployed up at the top of the screen. The Sentinels deployed towards the bottom of the screen, with 2 Griffins kind of running side to each unit. And then the Manticores that are in the list, I believe those are kind of symmetrically placed as well. So with the what Malikov is trying to do really is everything that has been brought with this list is designed to abuse him and his abilities. He has the Grey Lord Outriders are probably one of the best units, well, second best now I would say, units to put the backstab on, or the backstab order on, battle plan. Then after the new rule clarification from the Infernals on in regards to charging and how you can go through models with things that have incorporeal and acrobatics, the Chaosi Eliminators are probably the best unit for those battle plans, so they can become POW 9 Weapon Masters or POW 11 Weapon Masters with their gang bonus. So they mean serious business, and in all honesty, there should probably be a second unit in here of them. However, the Grey Lord Turnians or the Grey Lord Outriders are quite point intensive, along with the 4 jacks in Malakov's battle group, which I don't feel like I need to take out so much. So here you can see Malikov running over, or not running over, but he's just stepping over to the Turnians. He did put out the backstab battle plan on them. He also upkept escort and tactical supremacy. There's no focus allocation, but you did see that I slammed down the feat token. Now I'm just trying to figure out where does Veil of Mist needs to go. So after some reflection, I realized that Veil of Mists is not specific to friendly faction warrior models, so it's just any model that is friendly faction. And you can see the proxy base that I just pulled up is the home for the Devastator, just so he can get into base-to-base contact with Malikov. I think the Mana Cores have a straight shot, but I don't think there's any AoEs in this army to really make me feel like I need to have that Devastator there. In all honesty, Malikov, the way that I'm playing Malikov could really benefit from the ADR being able to swap that hunk of junk in and out as I need to. So you can see I kind of utilized the Veil of Mist to give that Juggernaut Pathfinder that ended up charging a Mage Hunter Assassin. And if it were something that I had predetermined that was how that was going to work out, I would have given the Juggernaut an extra focus so he could boost to hit and take that off the table, because I do not like those decap hits. So you can see my Turnians backed up to stay out of the Sentinel's threat range, and then I presented a Juggernaut to try and bait a feat move. And I'm pretty comfortable with how everything else is going. Malikov has several Mana War around him so that he can sack pawn some shots if he needs to, because I know Kalissa's got Phantom Hunter, so there's some extra protection I get out of those shots. Now, Mark seems to be having a difficult time trying to figure out to do. He understood the feat before. I made sure to explain to him what the feat did. He understood the feat in terms of what was going to happen, but I don't know if he understood the impact of it. As you can see, the Sentinels are kind of getting a little too hopeful in crowding around that Juggernaut. So I end up helping Mark out a little bit here in that we determined that the one on the very bottom of the screen will do the first damage roll. So he hit that Juggernaut pretty hard. The Juggernaut does advance out with no free strikes, but the one Sentinel on the end there is still in combat, so I helped him. We made sure that that was still something that could function. So essentially the Sentinels are kind of hanging out with their dicks in the wind. That was a interesting use of the feat. Now, there might have been enough space for one of the Sentinels or one or two of the Sentinels to run behind the Juggernaut so that they could try and pin him in to make sure that that feat move didn't happen. Kind of like how people would protect against Enliven how you can still protect against Enliven because it still exists. It's just not on the same model anymore. So I think that the feat move from that Juggernaut, which I did let him know, and as far as I can tell from the feat, that does not stop. So it's not like I take damage and then I move and then it's done. The feat does most certainly keep going. It never stops. So I could get hit multiple times and still generate multiple feat moves. So we have a Griffin coming in to try and break up the Man War party. Unfortunately, with them sitting at Armor 21, it is not an easy task to try and get them at dice -8 with, I think it's POW 13 that's on that Griffin. Now we see the House Guard are getting, I believe in this one they were charging the front Juggernaut. Or no, it looks like they were just shield walling up with no intention of trying to get on that Juggernaut. I think he didn't want to proc the feat again. So on that Juggernaut, though, I'm not quite sure it would have mattered so much unless The only thing it would have done is I could have like positioned him in a more interesting way to get some neat little tramples. Now on this one, I believe the Manticore was shooting the Juggernaut that was in front, or was shooting something. I can't quite remember what it was here. This is why you need the second person to talk. So once I start making this a habit, there will be a definite second person chatting with me, or chatting with whomever, to make sure that each player is here and can talk about what their faction's doing and what their turn was like. So at the end of Mark's turn, I realized that he did not feat, and I told him, or I had instructed him that it'd be in his best interest to do so. Now you can see that this is an example of my phone only recording a half hour's worth of content. When we come back, we will see what happened kind of at the tail end of my turn after Mark went. So you can see that quite a bit has occurred here. Those sentinels on the bottom have all but evaporated, and the House Guard have taken some significant casualties as well. I think my turn completely passed, and now Mark is trying to figure out how to retaliate. So the White Griffin in the middle of the screen has taken some significant damage from the Man-O-War. The Sentinels got chewed up by backstabbing Greylord Turnian sprays. There were two that got some really good sprays on the backside of the Dawn Guard, so they went down, and then there were two Eliminators that were around there that took out, I think I got 3 of the Dawn Guard Sentinels, so now there are only 3 left, and they're trying to go for this is their vengeance move. So one is trying to go for 17s, and the unpainted one is just the standard bearer, so he's kind of just waving his flag at these Eliminators, hoping that'll spook them a little, but unfortunately it doesn't. The Man-O-War that gets into the back of the Dawn Guard Sentinel that gets into the back of the Man-O-War in the middle there, he takes a whack at him with no shield wall bonus and the -2 defense. Unfortunately, he didn't do enough to crack him. On that run, we just had the Griffin punching an already wounded shock trooper, so he ended up taking that one off the table. Oh no, never mind. That wasn't a Man-O-War that died. That was me taking off the destroyer so that we didn't get confused as to where he actually was. There's a proxy base behind that Griffin, kind of just showing where he was. And then Malikov, if you've lost track of him, is standing right next to the objective. He's halfway in the zone, and on this turn, I ended up leaving him on no camp, and there's only, I guess it looks like there's, I think we said there were 2 shock troopers and the 3 mechanics that were within sack pawn range, so he was safe from ranged for the most part, but the charges were what I was fearing with him. I just didn't really quite put him in the best spot, I think, but I was living a little dangerously. Now this is I do believe that right now Mark is just trying to figure out how best to appropriate his jacks. After losing a lot, I've kind of put him on the ropes here. There's he's got 3 Khador heavies in his front yard with only 2 Ret heavies to battle him back. Now with concentrated power and I guess the mana cores somehow warped for strength, I don't know exactly what the term is for them, but they can start punching juggernauts at dice damage. So they can put some work into those juggernauts, and it did spook me a little bit, just because I do know that Kalissa's card does have feedback, and Malikov is, like I said, only 15 wounds, so he can't really afford taking a ton of damage. On this, I believe there were just some House Guard halberdiers that were taking some punches on the Juggernaut that was messing with him. So from there you can see that the Manticore made very short work of the Juggernaut that was presented to him. That the Manticore had taken quite a bit of damage from that Juggernaut during my turn. However, with 2 Arcanists in back got him up to fully functional to end up boxing my Juggernaut that I had presented to him. It did not take much from what I saw from the damage rolls. They were pretty on fire. So now we have another Manticore trying to put some damage out. I believe on that one he rolled 1 shot and was putting damage into my objective. So yeah, it was just a few points into the objective just to get some splash damage going. I believe that was what the case was here. So this is more. I don't honestly know what's going on here. I can't quite remember what this part was. I'm sure there will be something that comes off the table to help indicate what's. Oh, the Griffin is punching on a Juggernaut, it looks like, and he's not doing terrible damage, but the 2 Arcanists behind him were too busy juicing up the Manticore, so that Griffin did not get much work out of it. Now we have Narn kind of jumping over everybody here, going into that Man-O-War that had, I think, 3 boxes left at the time, so Mark had appropriated some get up and go to take him off the table. Okay, well, it looks like my prediction was wrong in that now the Griffin is punching the Juggernaut. And from what I can remember, this is pretty ineffectual damage that Juggernaut did. He does survive this round of fighting, and not much happened there. Silas is, I think on this one he's Arcane Secreting, or Arcane Whispering, or Arcane Assisting Kalissa. Now she ends up using her activation to just run straight to that flag, because now Mark has identified something that I was hoping would go a little unchecked for a while, and that I have very little presence on that side of the table. So the upper part of the table is kind of his playground in terms of getting control points over there. Now, I have realized that my my flag is has pretty decent presence in terms of my supremacy on that side of the table. I've got it pretty much on lock right now. So the Chaosi Eliminators are making short work of the Dawn Guard Sentinels. One of them does shit the bed and misses its attack, or both attacks on the other Dawn Guard Sentinels. So that pony, he ended up. They do have native Pathfinder, so he ended up charging up over the wall and getting a charge attack in on that Dawn Guard Sentinel to kill it. So now then Malikov just ran straight to the flag. There was I don't know if it was here or on this exact moment or earlier in the turn, but I did measure to make sure all of that was in range, so I could get there and not have to worry about not having to worry about a bunch of or not trying to cheat Mark. So right there, the barrage of dice that got rolled were the Devastator going up and Reign of Deathing some Dawn Guard, or not Dawn Guard, but House Guard Halberdiers. I think he ended up pulling three or four of them off on this turn. So he's kind of presented himself to the Manticore to chew on while my Juggernaut is. That Juggernaut took a bunch of damage from those House Guard halberdiers. They were doing 3-man CMAs into him, and they messed him up pretty good. The dice spiked pretty hard there. So on this one, I believe this is my these are my man-o-war, I think, getting work onto the griffin that they're engaged with. So unfortunately, they do not get enough damage in to box him. I think they come up just a few short. For the first time ever in this game, the mechanics came up and fixed a man-o-war shock trooper. Ended up getting him back up to fully functional, or just he had 2 boxes left on him or something like that. So now I've got a juggernaut that burnt his entire stack to try and kill that stupid griffin, and he ended up coming up pretty short on doing, well, I guess pretty short is an understatement. The griffin had 2 boxes left, so if you're paying attention, or, well, I guess you're not, it's not that you're not paying attention, it's just that I haven't said anything, but the white griffin in the middle of the screen has 1 box left, and the blue griffin that the juggernaut's engaged with has 2 boxes left. Ugh. It was troubling, to say the least. So now I think Mark he's still got Khador heavies to deal with. The extreme juggernaut that's in the middle with the house guard is pretty beat up. So now, unfortunately, the video is going to cut off because I couldn't capture the whole game. But what ends up happening here is I got up on scoring the flag with Malikov. So when I ended my turn, it was 1-0. Mark ends up going to 1 here. I end up going to 2. Then I also, when I end my turn, go to 3. He goes to 2. And I end up clearing up quite a bit of the middle zone. And then Mark ends up, instead of letting me go to 4 and him going to 3 and just letting me kind of auto-win, he ends up putting enough damage on my objective to kill it, then tying the score at 4-4. So I had to work pretty quickly to try and figure out what to do. Fortunately, I had a functional juggernaut that I slapped down a Veil of Mist cloud on so that he got Pathfinder through that forest, and he ended up waltzing up under escort to his objective, killed the objective to go up to 5, putting me at 5-4, and then I ended up also scoring my flag too. So once I killed the objective, it was game over. Either that or I'm miscounting, and it was that the objective put me, we were at 3-3, and the objective put me at 4, and then ending put me at 5. So I think that's exactly what happened here.